This video is brought to you by Audible.
My Tangeradar is going crazy. Not to mention my Patronar. Get it? Like sonar. Steve, this is me sober!
What? They can't all be South Park based? No more foreplay. Finally, I can stop making all these references in my polls. Thank you to anybody who got those jokes. I applaud you. Including y'all down in Tightwad, Missouri. Hi, I'm Kitty Monk, and I'm here to talk to you about American Dad. Or more specifically, Roger, a fey pan-alcoholic non-human. To test the reviewability of this show, I will start with their most popular character. However, this is my first American Dad video, actual one, because American Fung does not count for me, and you'll likely expect some background. American Dad focuses on Stan Smith of the CIA and his crazy family. Think of it like Family Guy, but while the family can be zany and somewhat murderous, they actually love each other. Oh, believe it or not. There's no cutaway gags, but there are a lot of twists and turns. For example, without giving too much away, one episode starts with Francine wanting the family to have Sunday dinner, which leads into the reveal that they have never actually taken a vacation together. Stan just puts them in special chambers from the CIA so he can have a week to himself. Well, I mean, Klaus and Roger are also there, but hey. When Francine finally demands a real vacation, they end up stranded on a desert island and have to eat Steve's girlfriend to survive, which sucks. But their main takeaway is going on a real vacation sucks more. And the only consolation is, hey, they might have eaten a person, but they at least had Sunday dinner together. And more stuff happens in that episode I won't tell you because it's so good I don't want to spoil. Like I said above, the entire cast is zany and silly. But who is the zaniest of the zanies? Roger the Alien, better known as Roger Smith, or Stan's Uncle Roger. Alright, another reason American Dad beats out Family Guy, most of the time, at least for me, is because they have long-running storylines, which I might get to in future videos if this one passes the Dagmar threshold. There's Jeff being in space, Haley dating Reginald, it goes on and on. Roger's disguises are probably the longest recurring story, and perhaps the most interesting. So, let's discuss. Implied by the name, Roger is an alien who lives with the Smiths. Because this is a Seth MacFarlane show, and there has to be at least one non-human member of the cast, several years prior to the start of the series, Roger was held captive in Area 51. Nobody was there to storm him out, only to escape around the same time Stan was there.
I'll check this lab where the theremin music is coming from.
Which I have questions about to this day. Area 51 is in Nevada, and Langley Falls, or at least I think the Langley that Langley Falls is supposed to be based off of, is in the DC metro area. That's like on the other side of the country, like thousands of miles away. Was Stan posted at Area 51 the same way he was in Saudi Arabia? Was it a work trip? Seriously, this could be its own episode. Just saying, they did Fellow Traveler. And the show has a talent for doing non-canon episodes or flashbacks.
Well, they said you'd be bigger, and with claws.
Oh, I've got claws. Look how fat you are. See? Kitty can scratch.
Roger saved Stan's life, and now Stan owes him a life debt, which he's repaying by letting Roger live in the attic. At the start of the series, Stan won't let Roger leave the house. Seriously, he's lucky he's even allowed to leave the attic. Because if the CIA finds out they've been harboring an alien, they'll arrest and or kill the family. Albeit, even though the show has an alien task force that only comes up when it's plot relevant, and this theory might have a couple of holes, I like to tell myself Bullock knows because seriously, Roger does not keep a low profile. Maybe he's testing Stan, maybe he has better things to worry about, maybe he doesn't deem Roger a threat. All Roger's doing is just trying to live his life. He's not trying to steal our water or take over the world. Now, many people think Roger did not start wearing disguises until later in the show, but actually it started all the way back in season 1. During Stan Knows Best, which I think is episode 3, Haley moves out to be with Jeff for one episode, and Roger takes over her room because he finds it more comfortable.
Is Roger moving into Haley's room?
No, he is not.
Fine, I'll go up to the frigid attic. I'm supposed to bring pneumonia back to my home planet anyway.
Steve, wanting to impress a girl named Kim, who I think is voiced by Zoe Deschanel, pretends Roger is Haley so that Kim will want to go to the dance with him. And to really butter her up, he gives Roger his first major backstory.
What happened?
Oh, I was dating a pool guy, and he thought it'd be kinky if we gave each other chlorine massages. I went first.
Ouch. But yeah, at first they kinda had to acknowledge the gray skin. I mean, there was one episode where somebody noticed he did not have a nose, and he spent the rest of the episode insecure. Nowadays, they usually ignore or hand-wave that stuff and treat it Invader Zim style, where so long as Roger's clothed in some way, everybody just sees a normal short person, not an alien. The only people I can name off the top of my head who can see through the disguises, except for the Smiths, are Bob Todd, Toshi, and one dude from Area 51. But that's not to say the disguises were a smooth transition. In Francine's flashback, Roger disguises himself as a Jamaican exchange student to go on a double date with Steve.
I snuck you out so you could be my wingman. Now you can make nice with Jewel, or you can go home and rot in the attic.
Steve, you're making me crazy.
That pun, I don't know how I'm allowed to feel about it or even if I'm allowed to comment on it. For those of you who watched Tuesday's video about Kyle, you know my new rule. If I make a comment I'm not supposed to or makes you uncomfortable, you get to make one joke about me being a furry, which is totally untrue, disgusting, and problematic. I mean, Roger's not a human, is he? At the Smith house, Roger's date kind of unmasks him, I guess you could say.
Oh my god, Lindsay! Roger is an alien!
Roger!
Hey, nobody ever said progress wasn't gonna be messy. During the early episodes, I think probably the most important episode is Roger Codger. Stan tries to impress Bullock, who has been non-weirdly oogling at a new employee, Duper.
Lucille, you got some splotting to do.
Even though that's not the way everybody says exploding, I respect our differences and your right to say it the way you want. So, babaloo. What, I'm as Cuban as I'm Puerto Rican. It just never comes up in conversation. I'm like a porquiscucha. Porquiscucha? I'm really trying here. Am I saying it right? Stan invites Bullock over for dinner. In order to obtain the promotion Bullock really wants to give to Duper. Around the same time, Roger has started to develop cabin fever, as he's confined to the house like something out of the feminine mystique. How will we ever know? Because clearly he can't just wait an hour. It's not like he's hundreds of years old. And to him, an hour's like a blink. Guess Stan was too lazy to put a mini fridge in the attic. The stress has started to get to him, and he's leaking gross, disgusting fluid everywhere.
Now you're doing this?
I think I can make a joke here. I just don't know what. You make of that what you will.
Yeah, I haven't been feeling so great. Once it dries, it'll chip right off.
Like I do, 6 days out of the month. I did it. Roger comes downstairs during dinner, and he nearly gets spotted, meaning Stan has to play balancing act.
Stand back! Good God, Smith! What the... Oh!
Stan does not get the promotion, and as you can expect, he's pissed at Roger. Wow, imagine how Roger must have fared during current events. After Bullock leaves, Stan reads Roger the riot act.
Do you know what would happen to us if the government found out we were hiding an alien? Oh, but he doesn't care. No, he just lays around the house inhaling groceries and pumping out pudding.
Stan, shut up. Don't make Roger go bananas, and don't make me go all kitty monk on you. Or he can straight up frickin' die. That happens too. Oh, I guess not.
Holy crap, can't a guy fall into a stress-induced hibernation cycle without being chucked in the trash?
Flocky, I wish I had a stress-induced hibernation cycle. It would help me so much. Roger finds himself at the dump and realizes he can use whatever he finds to get home as an old lady. Too bad the senior home thinks he's a woman named Mrs. Nussbaum, and they're going on a field trip to Washington.
I'm not an alien.
Back on the bus, Mrs. Nestbaum.
Wait, so what happened to the real old lady he replaced? The reason I find this episode important is it firmly established Roger's ability to leave the house unaccompanied. You know, the one thing he's wanted to do since the pilot. True, it's out of necessity, but when he's walking, he does a pretty good job of just keeping to himself. If it were not for the detour, I think he'd have a good chance of getting home by walking there, and it would have saved a lot of heartbreak. Still, he has a fun adventure in the capital with his faithful partner in crime, Gertie. Gertie is amazeballs.
That's for freeing the slaves, you loving devil!
Something tells me she would hate peanut butter if she knew the truth about its creation. Too bad the CIA sees Roger at the White House and they want to recapture him. Stan tries to beat them to the Smithsonian, where Roger and Gertie are headed because they have a dynasty exhibit.
Linda Evans' tennis outfit. Wow, John Forsythe's girdle. Oh, the stories it could tell.
But which Smithsonian? Natural History? Air and Space? Hirshhorn? Postal? Initially, Stan just wants to take Roger home because the whole family is grieving. But when Roger, drunk as a skunk on the first of the month, tells Stan he's gonna rat out the family, which obviously I don't think he's gonna do, he was just saying that to show up to Stan. Stan changes course and decides to kill Roger. Because of Stan's interference, the disguise falls off and Roger is running around town in the nude. Roger, that's a federal building, at least wear a bra like a proper lady. Roger decides to let Stan shoot him to save the family. Oh yeah, forgot to mention. The other Smiths got word of Stan's murder plan and they tried to beat him there. But Stan just can't go through with it. Good thing they got Gertie.
Give me back my wig, you pappy!
Look how it mimics our language.
Wait, was Gertie named after that kid in E.T.? Because that is clever. Fun fact, the original plotline for the abusive terrestrial wasn't that Roger would have become friends with Henry. It was that he would have moved back in with the family he stayed with before the Smiths. Guess who would have played them? Henry Thomas and Drew Barrymore. I guess they did kind of reconcile that with the Logans. Sorry, tangent. The point is, I like to think this episode convinced Stan that Roger could be trusted to leave the house, or even be around other people, provided he did so in a disguise, and or was more careful about it. After all, he does love the Smiths, and he doesn't want the CIA to label Stan a lady for having ovaries. Besides, this episode onward, Roger would be leaving the house a lot more often, and excluding a couple of episodes, not a lot of concerns would be placed on it. In episodes like Stan of Arabia, Rough Trade, or heck, even Roger and Me, he had his own little adventures and it was almost always just him. Finally, this all comes to a head in Camp Refugi, where Roger starts dressing up. Not out of necessity like before, but out of a sense of just having fun.
Oh, it's my new hard-boiled PI character. I find role-playing helps me cope with the soul-crushing boredom around this place. May I proceed?
At long last, we finally get the disguises. With Stan and the kids away in Africa, Roger and Francine decide to play personas.
Okay, remember, I'm Professor Jordan Edelstein.
And I'm Amanda Lane. I didn't take your name.
And I did not know this until I got older, but the episode makes fun of the play Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? I am, because I had to read The Waves my junior year, and I had no idea what the effing F was going on. At least Mrs. Dalloway was entertaining. At a country club, Roger and Francine meet another couple, and invite them over for dinner. Too bad Francine has to royally mess up.
We were there while Jordan was doing research for his economics dissertation.
I'm a political scientist.
I said economics. It's been established.
Meaning, as is customary, they must now put up with a super spiteful Roger.
How much you weigh, Candy? 100? We figure maybe 105?
Roger, that's a major faux pas. He spends the rest of dinner making things super uncomfortable, establishing embarrassing things for Francine's character. Meanwhile, Francine gets drunker to deal with it, until finally, Roger says the line we're all waiting for.
Tell them how you killed our baby, Amanda.
Jordan, no!
Yes, that is my favorite Roger line. Just the build-up. The couple runs out of the house as Roger and Francine wait in the living room, destroyed because of their actions, and pondering of the life they did not have because it did not happen. With this episode, it seems the show finally established a groove to Roger's personas, and several important rules going forward. 1. The personas have to have crazy names. Think Ruby Seldestein, Betty Key, Getty McClanahan, Jenny from the block, Martin Sugar, because they can't all be girl names. 2. There usually needs to be at least one persona per episode. In fact, the TBS seasons broke that rule for the first time in 10 years. Number 3. Roger's personas have to have crazy backstories. As time went on, using these 3 simple rules, this plotline would become more crazy and convoluted. For example, some are so real that they have social security numbers. Others have full-on families. Like Jeannie Gold, wedding planner, sister and arch-nemesis of Ricky Spanish. She has 2 adult sons in film school that she employs as part of her wedding business.
How was that possible?
I know, I look too young to have kids in college.
No, that you have children when your persona is totally fabricated.
We are the music makers. We are the dreamers of dreams.
Or Frankie Carcone, who is apparently a twin. Silly Frankie.
You have a human brother?
Oh yeah, and Mama just loves Freddie. She lets him have with girls, but puts my ear to the stove for playing with the chickens.
The best explanation I can give is maybe Roger adopted those kids or pulled a Sarah Blanche and replaced their parents and or siblings or relatives. Normally, Roger is able to juggle hundreds upon hundreds of personas, you heard that right, by making up excuses, like in My Affair Lady, where we find out he's been married to Haley's co-worker, Axe Jenkins, for 8 years, as Rosalind. He faked having an accident and needing to be in an iron lung in order to wait for the day Axe cheated on Rosalind so he could steal his fortune.
So you live with your wife? Like, all the time?
Yeah. I mean, much of the time she's out of town for her experimental treatments.
There it is.
Still, believe it or not, this was originally not the plan. The staff members had a full multi-season idea about how things were to proceed. In season 1, Roger would have been a more perverted version of Alf, wanting to leave the house but forced to stay inside and watch trash TV and drink alcohol. Season 2, disguises. Season 3, he would have gotten spotted in public and become a celebrity, rather than arrested or dissected. Too bad that by season 4, the world would be so used to aliens that nobody would care, and Roger would do whatever he could to regain his fame. I don't know what got the writers to change their minds, and honestly, I don't care. Let's just say that unlike Alf, Roger has a much better ending. But unlike Alf, he has a movie that never came to fruition. And they expand on his backstory many times. In the best Christmas story never told, we learn Roger crash-landed in Roswell, New Mexico, meaning that when the episode was airing, he was on Earth for about 60 years.
You've only been here 4 years.
Try 60.
You've been here 60 years?
Yeah, I crashed in Roswell in 47. Thanks for finally asking.
During that time, he accomplished many things. Inventing ecstasy, bringing forth disco, inventing Jar Jar Binks, and kidnapping Raven-Symoné to turn her into a public star. And that's just to name a few. A little while later, we would revisit Roger's origins and a wiener of our discontent. We learned that one reason Roger is such a D-word is because he came to our planet with a mission. He's got big stuff going on. One day, Stan is fed up and finally tells Roger how he feels.
You're lazy, you're a chubbo, you lie, you cheat, but you strut around like you're Mary Queen of Scots, Brangelina, and Jesus all rolled into one. Well, you're not! You're a big fat nothing!
Stan, while your feelings are valid, you weren't supposed to say that. Thanks to him, Roger reveals the real reason he's on Earth.
I was sent here on a top-secret mission to decide if the people of Earth should live or die. And what you just said there, you crossed the line, buddy. I've decided.
Apparently, Roger was entrusted by his people to be the decider. Decider. That name sucks. I hate it. Who would decide whether or not humankind was worthy of continuing to live, or would face sure extinction. Ticked off by Stan, Roger decides that he's finally made up his mind.
I'm going to my fortress of solitude outside Roswell and sending a message to my people to blow this dump of a planet up.
They made him cry. And now they die. Frito pie? You can't have any. Stan thinks he's faking, although he plays along when Roger decides to go back to the ship and phone home. During the plane ride over, Roger gets to eat a slice of humble pie, which I hear is also a kind of mincemeat pie. Good to know. He has to wait to get on the plane, he has to check his bag, and he has to sit in a seat that does not recline.
Comfy there, Mr. Decider?
I'm not making the obvious joke. I'm overweight too, albeit not to that extent. And so long as you don't fart or drool or lay on me, I don't care. At Roswell, Stan discovers...
Oh, good lord, it's real. We crashed this ship into your planet to test new safety features. The alien inside is merely a crash test dummy.
Crash test dummy?
Yep, so Roger was never actually the Decider. Okay, I think I said it right that time. He was a crash test dummy who somehow survived, which really makes sense. We know from many episodes, most notably Big Trouble in Little Langley, that Roger's fireproof. To him, it's like getting a sunburn. It might hurt, but he'll still survive.
How'd you know I was fireproof? I didn't even know. Wait, you did know I was, right?
And second, the episode Lost in Space revealed not only is Roger considered psychotic by the standards of his species, but he cheated on his boyfriend, Emperor Zing. And it traumatized him so much that he ended up waging a war against love. I could totally buy Zing orchestrating that to get him off planet, not caring whether or not he lived, so long as he was out of his hair. Anyhow, Roger's personas have become a major part of the show. I mean, starting with 16 Candles, there's a running gag in the opening sequence where Roger will show up in Stan's car, always donning a new disguise. My favorite Roger persona episode, and the one that showed the trouble when it came to his personas, or one of the first, was the one that got away. I think it helps that much like Earthy Girls Are Easy and I Dream of Jesus, this episode aired on the day my sister was born, meaning that for me personally, it's not just funny, it's sentimental. At the start of the episode, while Roger was first in his personas, it wasn't to the hundreds upon hundreds we would see later. Maybe like 12 at most. The only thing he had going was a carousel closet and an accountant costume. The Smiths hold an intervention for Roger to tell him that lately he's been going nutter butters. Well, extra nutter butters, especially since he has a glove and he can't find the other. Don't ya hate that?
I'll tell you what I think. I think you hide behind all these disguises so you don't have to face the fact that the real you is an inconsiderate jerk.
Stephen, Anita, you do not know how right you are. Roger ignores the Smiths and goes to the store to buy Roger's stuff, where he arguably gets karma as he cannot buy anything.
It says it's declined.
Impossible! Your mannish fingers just hit the wrong buttons.
Declined.
Roger discovers his credit card is maxed out because somehow they authorized a cosigner, and the cosigner bought a super expensive ring. Name of said cosigner? Cindy Huffman. Ugh, Sydney. Unless Roger's dyslexic and angry at Disney. I wonder who it could be. Like a proper psycho, Roger finds out every personal detail about Sydney and decides to ruin his life. All because he ruined his credit score.
Time to dish out a little street justice. Death Wish style. Death Wish was a movie.
Dude, Roger is the type of person I want to be when I get revenge. I mean, I wouldn't kill 6 people over $20. Granted, I do wish I had his tenacity. Roger discovers that Sydney is a Bible salesman who's even more repressed and stuck in the 50s than Hank Hill. And he has a girlfriend named Audrey Judy Panowitz.
What a coincidence! I'm a Judy Panowitz.
Wait, musical Audrey does not have a last name? OMG, I never realized. I guess that's why that terrible cartoon spin-off made her Mushnick's daughter. Roger gets to work ruining Sydney's life. He edits Genesis to be vulgar, and he turns Sydney's bird friends into Popeye's number 6, with a side of coleslaw and shame. Roger is ready to set it on fire, only to learn...
Oh my God. I'm the sap. I'm Sydney.
Oi. Guess you got some therapy to go to? You need 15 years of full-time therapy. As it turns out, Roger somehow developed a split personality. Why? Don't worry, we'll get there. A few days earlier, we meet Sydney and learn that not every villain is lemons. He's the type of dude you would want to have a beer with. Except he can't drink beer because he would never even think of touching the devil's nectar. Oh, come on, he can hang out with me. I'm not allowed to drink. And even if I did, I don't have the tolerance I used to. Bad stuff starts to happen to Sydney, courtesy of Roger, but he still remains optimistic, at least until Roger finds out he loves plants. Okay, I don't know how Roger knew that or knew the thing about the birds. Did he just ask around, or was it a side effect of the split personality, where Roger might not know who Sydney is, but he subconsciously knows traits? The worst thing Roger does, outside of turn his birds into KFC chicken tenders, violating a sycamore.
I mean, he just, yeah, the guy the tree.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at the act itself. It's just so out there. I don't know what's better, the joke about the baby or this. Finally, Sydney goes to propose to Judy, who, thanks to Roger, rejects him. Good thing she did, because she met a new stable guy, Seymour Krellborn, who purifies her in ways Sydney never did, and even named a talking plant after her. Realizing Roger will never stop, he decides to do the only thing he can.
Roger Smith, Sydney Huffman hired me to kill you.
Which is the only part of the episode I don't particularly enjoy. I get it, Sydney was pushed to his breaking point, but he's still a pacifist, and it just seems a little out of character. I gotta kill this dude, not just go to the cops or something like that. I mean, especially after what he did to my sycamore. I can't look at Sydney. I wish it was something like Sydney was crying on the street and then met the hitman, or since Sydney lives in the 50s, that rhymes. He looks in the phone book and sees the ad for the dude, and that convinces him to do it. Again, I guess maybe you can justify it as split personality. Maybe he's subconsciously doing what Roger would. But I'm a YouTuber and I must nitpick everything like it's a 7-year-old infested with lice. I am like living tea tree oil. Klaus suggests that Roger pretend to be Sydney and call up the hit. Unfortunately, Roger can't remember the password, meaning the only thing he can do is go talk to Judy, reveal the truth, and see if she can help.
You know, Sid, I guess we all wear masks in some way or another.
Yes, we all wear metaphorical masks to hide our true selves in an impersonal modern society.
Is it bad I've been mostly using that line for years as a joke? The hitman spots Roger and chases him into the changing room, warning that if he doesn't come out right now, Judy is gonna be fed to a man-eating plant.
Okay.
Roger comes face to face with Sydney, which to everybody else probably sounds like he's talking to himself. But it's healthy to do that. And he finally remembers what caused him to create Sydney. He had developed empathy for somebody. Hey, I don't know if it's better he did that or if the jerkiness turned to bile and killed him. Your pick. Roger wanted gloves. See, it went somewhere. Only they were $10. Aw, shucks. So he took advantage of Judy's want for a stable man and one who was not a dentist in order to get close to her as Sydney and try to steal the gloves. During one of his ventures, he bought her a $700 necklace and made Sydney a co-signer in order to cover his tracks.
Wait, you spent $700 just to steal $10 gloves? Shut up!
Thank you to anybody who commented on that post. I especially appreciate the Winnie the Pooh meme on Twitter. Just as Roger stole the gloves, Judy was gonna get fired.
Something in me split, and a part of me that cared about Judy was born. Sydney. From that moment on, you had a life of your own. Like what Katie Holmes used to have.
I mean, I think she has her own life now. Sydney wants to live alongside Roger, and Roger agrees, provided Sydney call off the hit.
The password is password 1.
Hey, that's it. I require letters and numbers.
Oh, come on, imagine the hitman today. He probably requires letters, numbers, uppercase letters, and symbols. As you can expect...
Oh, cheese and crackers!
Sorry, Sid. You're a good egg. And that cramps my style.
Oh, I kinda like Sydney. Still, as the series progressed, Roger's personas have continued to take on lives of their own, especially in the 200. At the start of another certain episode, Roger's going through his closet where he notices a caterpillar has eaten holes in all of his disguises.
It's ugly and disgusting, like Frankie Muniz, and it's just gonna become a moth and stay ugly and disgusting. Like Frankie Muniz.
He's probably also traumatized by Wormy, but Steve says he should not kill it.
Things can change for the better, Roger, and I'm gonna prove it. This little guy will be a butterfly, you'll see.
OMG, my English major senses are tingling. It's a symbol. Only one disguise hasn't been destroyed. Roger puts it on, wondering why he forgot about it, only to realize it's his most evilest of personas.
Slappity slap!
Ricky Spanish? Who? Ricky Spanish.
Ricky Spanish. Roll credits. Ricky Spanish is bad news. He does bad things, abandons his friends, takes advantage of others, and kills people. Just putting on the clothes means a split personality takes over. Basically, Ricky is to Roger what Cornholio is to Beavis. His baser instincts with no filter. The sad part is Steve tries to rehabilitate Ricky Spanish, but finds that Ricky used the opportunity to set him up to take the fall. Ultimately, my favorite part of Roger is how the Smiths are not immune from his charms. In Stanny Tendergrass, we learn each of the Smiths has a persona they can't see through.
Your mom's is my Korean kid who shoots pool with a giant chopstick.
No way.
And Haley doesn't realize I'm her sandal repairman.
Get out.
With Stan, it's Nicholas Vanderbilt, a rich jerk.
That's not my name, and it was saying it right at me.
Yes, Mr. Vanderhill.
This has led to the theory that certain characters are Roger personas the viewers can't see through. And while many people don't like this idea, I see it as mostly harmless fun. Ashley from Stan's Food Restaurant could totally be one of those personas. And if it were not for that episode subplot, the leader of the nitrous oxide mafia. Another favorite of mine is Max Jets, where we meet the titular persona. Max is loaded, and even though he's a jerk who enjoys voting under shirts, he enjoys giving the family cash. As a result, the Smiths are fine playing along.
Achoo!
Max is back! Max, it's so good to see you! And it looks like you still have your fortune.
In Act 1, Max gets out of prison for a crime they never mention, maybe something white-collar, and he decides to celebrate by taking the family to Outback Steakhouse. There he flirts with their waitress, Gina, and makes her his newest sugar baby.
The waitress? Waitresses are supposed to date waiters!
Gina. How do I describe Gina? That girl with the orange hair is the nastiest scuzz bucket I've ever met. Do not trust her. She is a fugly cow. Why did you change that line, Tina Fey? And you can quote this. Who wrote this? I did. After less than a week, Max decides to marry Gina, and as they can't just talk him out of it, to be fair they try,
She's a gold digger, bro.
Don't be ridiculous.
Wake up, leprechaun! She's after your gold!
The Smiths decide to kill him.
You do realize that Roger is Max, right? I mean, by killing Max, you'll be killing Roger.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Gotta break some egg.
I mean, considering how they're playing along for the money, I could see Roger doing the same. This whole episode is like Dungeons and Dragons, aka Monty Python. Their efforts are for naught because they all suck eggs, including Stan, a CIA agent who supposedly hasn't killed anybody despite doing it on screen multiple times prior to that one episode. Honestly, I hate the 42-year-old virgin. I hate it. Clearly, the CIA was right. Stan is the biggest lady out of the Smiths. I bet his ovaries are the size of grapefruits. Max marries Gina. Like 2 seconds later, Max dies.
He's dead!
Yes, we're rich!
And during the reading of the will, we learn not only are the Smiths more penniless than a sack of nickels, but the entire fortune will be going to Max's son, Jerry.
Who's that?
Me.
Of course.
Gina is the queen, but he's the head of worker bees. Jerry and Gina get married, and Gina takes the money forcefully. My only question is, how exactly did he get all that money? Investments? As Vanderbilt, they do take time to explain he married a rich woman before she croaked. He even says he reversed Anna Nicole Smith it.
Her daughter was not thrilled. You're never gonna get your mom's money, Pamela!
I don't think it's out of the realm of plausibility for Roger to somehow obtain the money. I just feel like there should have been a better twist than he just has a son. Like maybe Max really did have money, but he always wasted it all helping the Smiths and spending it on Gina. Or Roger was using play money, so hey, they do get money, just fake money. Or heck, maybe that's why Max was in prison in the first place. He stole millions. Piggybacking off of this, we have another persona the Smiths can't see through. Dr. Penguin! Actually, Raphael Penguin. Much like Max, Dr. Penguin is a therapist the family usually talks to when they have nobody else. Mostly because Dr. Penguin's only method of treatment is to tell everybody to keep secrets.
What? It's natural to think about Francine when you're sleeping with Haley.
No, that's terrible advice!
What people don't know can't hurt them.
Klaus hates Dr. Penguin because he views him as a hack. In order to get Dr. Penguin off his back, hey that rhymes, and hey a meme, he sends another one of Roger's personas, Sergeant Pepper, to Iraq. Yeah, this episode isn't made with the same speed as South Park. I think the war was over by the time it aired.
Well, who else shall I send to Iraq? That jerk at the dry cleaners who lost my tie.
Klaus tries to undo the damage by having the Smiths open up, and it all goes to crap. So he goes to Iraq to tell Roger to come home. What, you thought I was gonna say to come back? You wouldn't like me to rhyme again, wouldn't you? Klaus goes to Iraq and finds that Roger doesn't want to leave. Even though his job's not killing people, it's scrubbing toilets. Give him credit, he scrubbed 873. That has to be a record. So Klaus makes Dr. Penguin come back.
Goodbye, Sergeant Pepper.
What am I doing here? This isn't my aunt's place. Aunt Evelyn! Aunt Evelyn, it's me, Raphael! Raphael Penguin!
At home, Roger says they should just keep their issues hidden, and obviously that doesn't work anymore.
Say something else.
Why is there a hole in Daniel Craig's mouth?
He was hungry and I was feeding him something.
Was it a foot long? You know they say they aren't really 12 inches, right? It's a lie. Roger realizes nobody listens to Klaus because he's a man in a fish's body. That's how he says it, right? And he's not authoritative, so it takes Roger dressing up as Sergeant Pepper one more time to get Klaus the respect he deserves.
Hey, no one is dismissed! Not until you thank this fish! These are all his ideas! I'm just an authoritative mouthpiece!
Now, I'm sure you're probably wondering what my overall favorite Roger persona is. I don't know, I like a lot of them, it's hard to say. Maybe Dr. Penguin, or Sydney, or heck, even Max. Basically, if they're included in the video, I probably like them. But name-wise, well, next to Dr. Penguin, It's Abigail.
Abigail Lemon Party.
It's like whenever I hear my name in a show, or I hear somebody's name I know in a show, it's like I'm in on the joke. It just makes it so much funnier to me. People have been saying, Kitty, so what if Abigail's your real name? Don't worry, it's not an old lady name. Yes, it is. Look at the episode. That and the fact I was named after a first lady. By the TBS seasons, Roger's personas had become so massive that he has to do all of them each day, running hundreds of lives, like I said before, probably thousands at this point. He must keep track of them or the town will fall to crap. During Persona Assistant, Roger develops a tumor in his head.
This? Oh, it's nothing, just an ingrown eyebrow hair.
Stan doesn't appreciate Roger's personas, thinking he's bailing on his responsibilities to go cosplay.
Look, I'm sorry I flaked on your little song, but I've been feeling a little sluggish lately.
Probably because you're goofing off all the time doing your personas.
Goofing off?
When will he learn? Roger retorts that his personas provide stability to the town. Later, as a result of the tumor, Roger faints and is taken to Dr. Calgary for immediate medical treatment.
You're in an extremely fragile state. You'll need absolute rest and relaxation for several days!
Dr. Calgary tells Roger he needs to be on bed rest for the next several days, meaning no more personas. Oh no! He gets Stan to cover, while Roger gets to relax at a super fun spa. Before he leaves, Roger gives one warning.
Oh, and stay out of this box over here. It's full of some personal stuff I don't want you getting into. Retired characters, my mineral rights, Cougar Town DVD box set.
Wow, I bet nothing will happen. It will all be peachy keen. To do the personas, Stan has to wear a huge bodysuit made of Roger's skin.
Now, before you put on any of my costumes, you'll first need to get into this alien skin bodysuit. It hides who you really are, so the personas are all that people see.
Oh, that actually makes sense. He tries to do his job, but finds it's super duper complicated. He did not even get through half of the list. Turns out Stan is worse at it than we ever could have imagined. Because he doesn't dress up as Johnny Lasagna, Mafia Dude, the Mafia goes cuckoo banana cream pie, and Langley Falls is in complete shambles. Not knowing what to do next, Stan takes Klaus's advice and goes into Roger's closet to find one final disguise. Hold off on that. Roger comes home with a new buddy, Rogu.
Rogu, love Daddy.
Aww. Okay, back to the episode. What disguise did Stan choose? Ricky Spanish.
Ricky Spanish is back! And it's all thanks to Klaus. Who's your least favorite character now, Reddit?
So, do the writers and or cast members just patrol the American Dad sub? Good to know. Did they read the posts I made? Roger knows there's only one way to stop Ricky Spanish.
Incontinent wedding planner Jeannie Gold, who is, of course, also your sister.
So many things make sense now.
Klaus has a point. Why is she so normal and responsible? Hey, look at who her brother is. And look at Malik. But does that mean Jeannie Gold's real name is Jeannie Spanish? Even Jeannie is no match for Ricky.
Rogu saves Daddy.
Rogu Spanish.
Aww. Rogu stops Stan, and realizing his homunculus is a worthy successor, Roger decides to let Rogu take over when he's in decommission. Damn, the script was long. A lot of planes. Anyhow, Roger's personas are one of the longest running storylines in the show. To this day, they're funny, inventive, and we always get great episodes when they show up. Except for Julia Roberts, because it's like she's only in Act 3. It should have been like, we start off as Julia Roberts and then backwards. I don't know. It's no wonder Roger is such an amazing character. TBS even had a contest for fans to come up with a new persona. The winner was Gelatine Lychee, a drag queen who also runs a breakfast podcast. Sorry, guys. I voted for the golf girl. I just wanted to be like Gina Lavate. And I guess you're all waiting for me to go monk on people. Or since it's American Dad, go bananas. Here I go. I'm just gonna go grab a soda. Oh, I went bananas. You didn't see it, but I did. Gentle song, gentle song.
So how could she kill Jerry, who was you, without killing you?
You know what? I would love to explain all of it to you, but we're out of time.